have?
The immediate effect of the suspension will mean that no significant investor visa applications will get processed until July 1, when the new regime comes into effect. Our expectation is that the new guidelines for the significant investor visa program will be in line with what the government recommended earlier in the year, which means that 20% of significant investor visa programs will be devoted to compliant venture capital investment funds, and 30% will be directed to small and micro cap managed funds, and the remainder to traditional investment vehicles that were compliant with the significant investor visa program.
So what sort of effect will these new guidelines have on foreign investment?
So it's unknown at the moment. So there's certainly a part of the market that thinks that these changes might decrease the number of significant investor visa applications. But there's also a significant portion of the market that thinks that these changes will actually direct funds into parts of the sector which are actually going to contribute more to our economy than the traditional compliant investments, which were bonds and equities.
So what sort of investments are we looking at here?
Well, specifically for the significant investor visa program, it's a compliant venture capital fund manager, and also a compliant fund that invests in small and micro cap equities. But alternative assets refer to any sort of investment that sits outside of traditional bonds and equities.
So is the alternative investment space growing?
Absolutely. So we have seen the Future Fund actually allocates about 37% of funds under management to alternatives, and David Neal's actually come out publicly and said that that's been one of the most significant drivers for the outperformance of the Futures Fund. And over the last 2 decades, we've actually seen the allocation to alternatives by high net worths in Australia actually triple. It's sitting at about 17 to 19% at the moment, and we think it'll probably expand to about 25% of all funds under management. So it's the fastest growing fastest growing asset class in Australia at the moment.
When it comes to venture capital, it's been said before that it's underfunded within Australia. Is this a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing in the sense that it ends up ensuring that the very best opportunities are the ones that continue to get funded. It is a negative thing in the sense that we do have probably less capital to fund all of the really promising opportunities that are in the sector at the moment. And we've seen that venture capital can contribute very significantly to the economy in other economies such as the US. For example, US venture-backed companies contribute 21% in terms of revenue to GDP, but actual venture capital investment represents only a tenfold portion of that. And we've seen globally that venture capital, for every 0.1 percentage point of GDP incremental investment, can actually return 3 times that. So in terms of significance to the economy, venture capital investment can make a huge impact.
Are there any opportunities out there that are perhaps being overlooked?
I'm not sure there's anything being overlooked. There's certain areas that Australia performs very well in and is absolutely world class in. Health and biomedical research, for example, we're supremely world class in that respect. But there are other elements that have not been very heavily funded in the last decade, which I think we can probably exploit a little bit more intensively. For example, agriculture. That's an area that we've focused in at Blue Sky, both in our venture capital and private equity part of the business, but also our real assets part of the business. It's a primary industry in Australia, and it's one that I think we can take better advantage of.
And what about the services sector that contributes to the majority of Australia's national GDP?
Absolutely, and so we've seen investments in our private equity sector which are absolutely focused on consumer services, for example, and we see that no reason why that can't continue. I just think there are some parts of our economy which we're not taking full advantage of, particularly relating to our primary industries.
And what do you see on the horizons of perhaps some future opportunities that haven't yet eventuated but might eventuate in this field?
Well, we're not really in the business of predicting the next big thing, certainly from a technology perspective. On our private equity and venture capital side of the business, we're focused more on expansion stage opportunities. So where we think there is a real commercial opportunity, we're very interested in seeing more of those businesses. I think the one thing we have seen in the last 5 years is an expansion of really quality opportunities in that space, whether it's food, retail, consumer products, consumer services, biotechnology or agricultural technology. We've certainly seen an expansion there. Where we see a huge opportunities in the agricultural space, we are focusing specifically on water rights, water infrastructure, any area where we think there is a market need rather than a market want. There's always going to be an opportunity.
And with these changes to the significant investor visa, do you think Australia will continue to attract global investment with the current economic conditions?
I think we will. We've got a number of really positive elements which should attract investment. We've got world-class research and innovation. We've got world-class management teams in place. The only thing we don't have is capital to the level that we probably need to achieve critical mass. Will this affect the number of significant investor visas that we have, or significant investor visa applications? Maybe. Right now, though, we have demand actually outstrips supply, so I think we're probably okay there. I think the other benefit is directing some of these funds into venture capital and small and micro cap equities. These significant investors are actually entrepreneurs themselves. Many of them have made their money from entrepreneurial activities. So it's more than just attracting their capital to Australia. We want to attract their expertise because I think that will make a significant impact on our economy as well.